Here.
Okay, I'd like to call the January the 16th, 2024 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City. Everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance and may stand as an invitation to be given by Councilmember Cavella Young.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we pray, O gracious and almighty God. We pause, O God, to tell you thank you. We thank you for this day and we thank you for this hour. We thank you for this counsel, O God, and we ask that you bless us, O God, that we'll make the right decisions. Those decisions which will be best interest of the city of Lake City. We ask that you bless each elected officials and elected officials all over. And also, Lord, we ask that you put your arms of protection around our first responders. Bless them and their families, oh God. And then we want to ask you, oh God, to just comfort the grieving families all around. This prayer we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Darmigan?
Present.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Young? Mayor Witt?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Cannon?
Here.
Chief Butler?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened public meetings. Since 1968, the city code has prohibited any person from making personal and pertinent slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments on the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There's only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that's to be recognized and speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or a firearm by the governing body of the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, may I interrupt just a minute, sir? What would happen to a council member or a citizen that come up and violate your quote here?
We will address it then, and then we've got a workshop coming up in a week or two on the decorum and how we're gonna handle it.
So you're just gonna address it at that time, and you got a decorum coming up, and that's it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
We have minutes from December 18th and January 2nd.
Move to approve minutes as published, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Next is approval of the agenda.
So approved, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as published, all in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Public person wishing to address council, I have one, Mr. Warren.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, how are you and council members? I see a few people still in their feelings. So there's nothing I can do about that. I guess some people wear thin skin. Mr. Mayor, you don't plan on letting nobody kick me out of the meeting tonight before I get started, because I just want to commend a few hardworking people for the city. And, you know, some men ain't acting like men. I would like to, Mr. Mayor and council members, I would like to give a shout out to Ms. Terry Phillips and Dee Johnson for giving Ms. Phillips the green light to put on a multicultural event for the city of Lake City. This is something that we have for too long overlooked. And so most people in the community of a different background, of most people who attend the Lusty Festival, they are extremely excited to hear about this, and we've been doing a heck of a job of making sure that we share this with the community. So I just wanted to thank them for being inclusive. Secondly, Mayor, I would like to give a shout out to some of the very hard workers who are extremely underpaid for their services, and that is crew leader of the utilities department, Dylan Scheidel, Chris Lund, and a young man named Jamal. So these folks I just mentioned here at the tail end, these are the young men that are putting up the Welcome to Lake City sign on the corner of Froney and North Marion Street. For the record, Mayor, that would be good. Also, Mayor, while I'm having public records, public speaking, I do wanna address, why I'm getting charged so much for public records and where are my public records, why I can't address them, why it's talking about legal, nobody talked about legal before I went and spent that type of money on reports. And I got a trial coming up and I talked to you about this. And I guess this is some type of retaliation because, you know, the council don't like the messenger, but, you know, like when I'm out there campaigning and getting them in office and I'm just like, hands up, don't shoot. But there's shooting going on each side of the community. And I've been extremely helpful and everybody wanna steal my ideals. I'll never forget when the chief said that gunshot detector was a bad idea. Then he came up 3 months later and he wanted them. You remember that, Mr. Bailey Young? And you told me not to say anything as far as some other stuff. But man, at the end of the day, I mean, how much longer y'all plan on screwing me over because y'all skin is too thin to take criticism, but that's what y'all got elected to do. I can state my records or what? I paid a lot of money. Can we talk to legal?
I'm sure they're working on it, I've been in touch with them, so we'll get them as quick as we can, and I'll see that they do.
Is there a timeline? Because I think it's a
I
certain.
don't have one right now tonight.
So after I spent almost $2,500 on public records requests, you telling me that this board is gonna sit up here and not give me no answer for that kind of
Now
money?
we're gonna do what we're supposed to do.
And these guys and these ladies gonna sit here silent if you pay $2,500 for public record requests? Okay.
Alright.
Thank you, man.
Right, okay, we're open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2024-22, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So approved, Mayor. Second.
Motion second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, next is open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2024-2266 on final reading. Mr. Ken, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2024-2266, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City Land Development Regulations as amended relating to the rezoning of less than 10 contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z23-09 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from residential office RO and residential multifamily RMF1 to commercial intensive CI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Does anybody want to speak to this ordinance, either for or against? If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2024-2266 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2266, final reading.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan.
Yes.
Ms. Young.
Yes.
Mayor Whit.
Yes. Next is City Council Ordinance 2024-2267 on final reading. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
Mr. Mayor, we need to open the public meeting.
And open the public meeting at this time.
Ordinance number 2024-2267, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the official zoning atlas of the City of Lake City Land Development Regulations as amended relating to the rezoning of more than 10 contiguous acres of land pursuant to an application Z23-08 by the property owner of said acreage, providing for rezoning from commercial general CG and commercial intensive CI to commercial highway interchange CHI of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody wish to speak to this ordinance, either for or against? If not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2024-2267 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2267, final reading.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will call the roll.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Item 6 is to open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2024-2268 on final reading. Again, do we have it by title?
Ordinance number 2024-2268, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the text of the City of Lake City Land Development Regulations as amended relating to section 4.15.5, special exceptions, more specifically section 4.15.5.2, amending the text for travel trailer parks and campgrounds, and sections 4.15.5.3, adding text to allow storage facilities for boats, recreational vehicles, and similar equipment by special exception within the commercial highway interchange zoning district of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Not, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2024-2268 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2268 final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, we're to open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2024-2269 on final reading. Mr. Kenny, would you read that one by title?
Ordinance number 2024-2269, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the text of the City of Lake City Land Development Regulations as amended relating to section 4.13.5 special exceptions, more specifically section 4.13.5.16, amending the text to permit travel trailer parks or campgrounds by special exception within the commercial intensive zoning district of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Does anybody in the audience want to speak to City Council Ordinance 2024-2269 on final reading? All right, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2024-2269 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2269 final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, item 8 is open a public hearing on City Council Ordinance 2024-2270 on final reading. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
Ordinance number 2024-2270, an ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the future land use plan map of the City of Lake City Comprehensive Plan as amended, relating to an amendment of 50 or less acres of land pursuant to an application CPA 23-07 by the property owner of said acreage under the amendment procedures established in sections 163.3161 through 163.3248 Florida statutes as amended, providing for changing the future land use classification from residential medium density less than or equal to 8 dwelling units per acre to commercial of certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Lake City, Florida, providing severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Anybody wish to speak for or against this ordinance? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of City Council Ordinance 2024-2270 on final reading.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2270 final reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes. Okay, we're at item 9, and I do have somebody who wants to make some public comment. Speaking with the attorneys and doing my own research, it's not clear exactly how, whether, it looks like we have to do it after a motion and a second, but I've talked with Mr. Kenny, he's gonna do some research, and when we do our workshop, we're gonna amend what we have to, because I'd like it to be comments first. So, discussion, possible action, filling the vacancy of council member for city council. We just have one so far.
Yes.
That's one application.
One letter of intent.
I think the time runs on, 1st of February. Well, there's nothing to really make a motion about, so Mr. Warren, you wanna speak now?
If there's nothing to make a motion about, y'all not gonna make any decisions tonight?
Not that I know, unless somebody's got an idea of.
Excuse me. Tonight, you had asked for this to be put back on the agenda for tonight to discuss the process on how you're going to evaluate the candidates, should you receive more than one. Or you
Anybody
can-
got any
or you can
suggestions
do
on
it
that?
next time.
I suggest to recommend that you just go strictly by the charter. I mean, it's cut and dry.
Well, I guess what the question would be, do y'all wanna interview them, or do y'all wanna just look at their applications and vote?
Well, it depends. If it's only one, like she said, look at the application and then vote upon it. That's the way I'm thinking. I don't
So
know.
wait till February 1st meeting, or the 1st of February meeting, to see what we have.
Yes.
Anybody got any other ideas?
So you saying you all gonna make a vote in February as to who y'all gonna select, or?
Or whether we're gonna interview. Okay, okay, under new business, we'll have city council ordinance 2024-2274 on first reading. Mr. Kenny, would you read that by title?
An ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, amending the city code of ordinances to create Article 9 titled Shopping Carts to regulate businesses within the city of Lake City, Florida that provide shopping carts to customers, establishing shopping cart retention system requirements, establishing enforcement procedures, establishing a civil citation penalty, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for repeals, and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion as the city council ordinance number 2024-2274 on first reading?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve ordinance 2024-2274, final first reading.
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion?
Yes, if I could, Mayor. So what we're doing here is that we see all the shopping carts around that somebody's just pushing around. What you saying, we're gonna do something about this now? We're adopting this to do something about it now?
Well,
Mayor, if I can answer
yeah,
that.
Yes.
This ordinance in place to reduce the amount of cars that are on city right of ways, and basically hold the business owners accountable for their cars to keep them on their property.
And the reason why I asked that question is because most of the homeless or drifters, or we got all kind of names for them, they are pushing these carts. They get the carts from the business and push the cart to the right of way, like you're saying, down at there's other places that they push these carts. So we're gonna penalize the businesses for that?
Well, what I would think is that you will first have to identify who the cart belongs to. And within this ordinance, all businesses have to identify their carts, and they have to have mechanisms in place. So once this goes into effect, the carts won't be able to leave the property. They should have a mechanism in effect. So I don't see us going and seeing Joe Blow with a cart and stopping them and taking the cart from them. No, that's not what this is in place for.
Okay.
This, just for the council's edification, this is modeled very closely after Gainesville's ordinance. And so most of our bigger box stores that have businesses in Gainesville, they'll be familiar with this. I haven't tried one yet, but my friends have, and that is Winn-Dixie. When you hit the line at Winn-Dixie, they have locking mechanisms on the back wheel, and it locks down. If you're not ready for it, it'll send you over to the top of the shopping cart. And it's a retention system, that's one of the options they would have, to have the cart locked down, at the property line, or parking lot property lines. But there's several, and then I believe without finding it, there's a grace period, and then they have to submit their plans to the city for approval.
Well, I think it's an excellent idea, but again, we have some people that cannot afford a car, so they go to, let's say for example, they go to Walmart. I know you see people pushing Walmart carts all over the place. So we're gonna penalize that business for that patron that took that cart off of their property or establishment, or whatever the case may be.
If I can respond, and that's why the responsibility is being placed on the business. There's a safety hazard. You're riding down the road, it's dark, and a cart is right there at the edge of the road. It could cause a person walking, it can cause them to, danger to them, it can cause danger to a vehicle, swerving to keep from hitting, the cart. So I think it's very imperative that we do, place something, for this.
Mr. Mayor, isn't leaving with a shopping cart stealing? Isn't that stealing people's property?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All right, any further discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Webb.
Yes. Okay, item 11, the city council orders 2024-2275 on first reading. Kenny, would you read that one time?
Ordinance 2024-2275, an ordinance of the city of Lake City, Florida, amending the city code to add new section number 86-2 to Part 2, Chapter 86, Article 1, providing for the regulation of public parks, park hours, and penalties for violations, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of conflicts, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Is there a motion as the city council ordinance 2024-2275?
Mr. Mayor, make the motion to approve regulation ordinance 2024-2275, first reading.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Hudson, did you want to speak now that there's a motion?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion by council?
So, Mayor, Mr. Johnson, so the hours such as, at the lakes, if somebody's caught down there now, there will be citation, there'll be ticketed.
Yeah, this is to put it in place so we can actually take action if they do go against the hours of the park.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Sykes.
So, one more thing.
Okay.
So that would include the, I don't know if it should go to the chief, but, the people that sleeping around the lakes and the parks?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Webb.
Yes. We will move into resolutions. First one is city council resolution number 2024-010. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution 2024-010, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, declaring one firearm to be surplus to the city's needs, providing for the conveyance of the firearm to Sergeant Jason Byrd for his outstanding service to the city and its citizens during his career with the Lake City Police Department, and providing for the removal of the firearm from the fixed assets of the city.
Is there a motion as city council resolution 2024-010?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that resolution number 2024-010.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Webb.
Yes.
Mayor, before we move on, can I say one thing?
Sure.
I'd like to thank Sergeant Jason Byrd for his 24 years of service to the Lake City Police Department. And I'd also like to wish him a fun and prosperous retirement.
I agree with that.
Is he here tonight?
No, he's not.
All right, next is city council resolution 2024-011. Kenny, would you read that by title?
City Council Resolution number 2024-011, A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, confirming and upholding the City of Lake City's Historic Preservation Agency's issuance of a certificate of appropriateness as to COA 23-31 submitted by Rocky Ford as owner, providing for conflicts and providing for an effective date.
Is there a motion on the City Council Resolution 2024-011?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make that motion for 2024-011.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
I'm not gonna
Mayor.
vote on this one.
Do you have an abstain?
Well, I opt out of the other part of it, so I'm just not gonna have a part in this
Okay.
one.
And Mayor Witt?
No. All right, so it passed 2-1. Okay, next is item 14, discuss with possible action, city attorney, Mr. Kennon.
Yes, as you're aware, I've tendered my resignation, providing the appropriate 60-day notice. The transition with Folds and Walker has already begun. I believe the main attorney in that office that'll be handling the account would be Clay Martin. And we'll finish the transition through the end of January into February. Mr. Allison Folds is here. He's a senior partner in that firm, if anybody has any questions.
Anybody got any questions, Mr. Bowles?
Yes, sir, I got a question for you. You mind coming up here, Mr. Folds?
Yes.
So how long have you been a part of that firm over in Gainesville?
60 years,
You said 60?
60.
Oh my God.
Actually, we've been representing, or I've been representing, the firm has for over 50 years.
Okay,
And we represent quite a few cities at the present time.
yes, sir. Well, I can tell you this, coming from me, the different things that y'all put on over there, I really appreciate it. You guys coming on board and stepping in. This is a very unique city, so we appreciate y'all coming on board, stepping up, and taking over.
But we appreciate that, and each city that we represent has its own unique personality.
Yes, sir.
But we can combine all those together with representation of Lake City and the other cities.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Kennon, I understand we have to do this by ordinance and resolution.
Yeah, we have essentially two action items which will need to be considered, and that is a modification or revision to ordinance, or to I believe the code 70-2, to remove the city attorney as one of the designated persons that must be a permanent resident of Columbia County. I qualified for that provision, obviously. Folds and Walker currently does not have anyone that's a permanent resident of Columbia County, but that ordinance can be revised as all ordinances, number one. And number two, as we get closer to the final transition, just need a resolution to remove me from the contract and then just have Folds and Walker designated as the primary attorneys under the existing contract.
So there's nothing to vote tonight, we get those two.
We can go ahead and vote on the resolution tonight. We'd have to prepare the ordinance for a first reading. We can prepare the resolution if the voice vote affirms that. We can just prepare the resolution confirming the voice vote tonight.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion to, go ahead and prepare that, resolution for the, transfer of the living requirements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Warren, did you want to speak now?
Yeah, you changed up so fast on me, I thought you were letting people speak prior to the motion, then you went back to.
No, I said that we're still doing research on it, and so the advice was to do it this way for tonight, and then we got a workshop before the next meeting, so we'll address it then and fix it.
But we just did it on item 9, the other way around.
Anyway,
Yeah. So my question is, from the time of the separation of Mr. Kennan and his firm, then there's no more ties to the city with him at that point, and so there will be no more conflict of interest. And the council has set a precedent of going after their own attorneys and putting that black cloud over the potential possibility of having other attorneys that would want to represent Lake City. Bad judgment call. I think that a bunch of sheep were led by a bad shepherd that resigned and made a very, very unwise decision. And I mean, personally, I believe that they've really, I want to say almost to the point where I feel like they've slandered the firm of Mr. Kennan. And so, but that's just my opinion. And so if he's not going to have any more ties, when will those ties end? Because I'm interested in hiring Mr. Kennan myself.
It was a 60-day notice, and
I think best I could tell, depending on whether you count the day of or not, it'd be around March 1st.
it was getting,
Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a question to ask the attorney? I don't know whether it's appropriate. I don't want to violate any reason. You know, I'm on eggshells. You know, y'all like to try to throw me out the meeting, so I want to make sure I go to protocol. I see you laughing, Jay. Maybe you'll be laughing when that subpoena get here too. Yeah, you too, Miss Young. Yeah, you too, big.
Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm the best at it. Y'all know it. That's how you gotta make it, ain't it? That's how you kept your job, Jake, and that's how you won, Ricky. But I want to hire you, Mr. Kennan, and I was wondering, once you sever ties with the city, whether or not you would be hireable to people who would need your representation as it relates to the city, or would that be a conflict of interest?
It'd have to be a case-by-case basis, but I'm not sure if we would do city work before the council, but that's something we haven't even thought about yet, so.
Is it something that if there's enough money put on the table, maybe it's something we can discuss?
Money doesn't control it, it's the ethical part of it that controls it.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to setting up a meeting with your law firm and partners. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
it was my understanding, and Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, that the motion needs to be to authorize staff to move forward with bringing forward an amendment to the contract designating Folds Walker as the primary attorney. So bringing back a resolution for them to consider with the new contract terms possibly.
My understanding, it would just be the existing contract terms, just removing me and
And
placing.
that's it? There was no other changes on it? Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay. So do you want me to assign a resolution number to it now, or are we bringing
You
it back?
can.
Are we bringing it back?
No, we just,
Okay, 2024-013 would be the resolution number for Mr. Hill's motion, and the second by Mr. Jernigan.
would you call the roll then?
Okay, Mr. Hill,
yes.
Mr. Jernigan,
Yes.
Ms. Young,
Yes.
Mayor Webb.
Yes.
Mayor, excuse me, one more thing. It was also my understanding that we needed a motion to authorize the city attorney to go ahead and start moving forward with that ordinance to prepare. We need that on the next agenda
Okay.
for the residency issue. But I do have a question with that. Within that part of the ordinance, it does also have your department heads listed right there with the city attorney, doesn't it, Mr. Johnson?
That's correct.
So does the council wish to just remove the residency requirement at all to be a director, or what's your thought processes on that? Because it lists out most directors of the city actually are identified in the ordinance as needing to live in Columbia County.
So if we read through the whole ordinance, does that mean that the directors have to move into the Lake City or to the county?
It's already in there. what I would recommend is that we go ahead and just deal with the attorney part of it next meeting, and then we decide what we wanna do after that. Not take it on our own.
If the council wants to look, it's 70-2, and it's a fairly lengthy list of managers, assistant managers, spray field managers, pretty much managers and department heads are affected, other than the in addition to the upper administration type persons.
Well, I do think that the city manager definitely needs to live in the city.
And that's what I was kind of thinking, leaving it with the city manager in there. I don't think we should hold the directors to that. You kind of limit your pool of potential candidates.
And usually the city manager one is identified in their contract. I think
Right.
that's usually in the city manager's employment agreement. It's typically in there, but.
If council wanted to go through the list and then contact administration on their thoughts, we could put together some variables for y'all to consider.
Okay.
And can we do that before the next meeting? Because Clay said this needs to be on the next meeting agenda.
Yeah, we just need them probably by the end of the week.
Do we need a motion to move forward with that ordinance or not?
Ma'am?
Do we need an ordinance to move forward with the ordinance or not, to prepare one, to bring back, or are we okay?
I don't think we need a motion tonight.
We can just direct us to prepare an ordinance consistent with the charter that, for council's consideration. And then, if council has input on any persons they may want to see, removed, from the list as to the residency requirements, if you'll get those to staff, if there's a consensus, then it'll be easy. If not, we have no objection. Be very easy to prepare 2 or 3 alternate ones, for the council to consider as far as who's on the list and who's not. Make it easier for the council.
We can always change it to for second reading, so that shouldn't
Right,
be an
but
issue.
first reading, we can modify subsequent to that.
Okay, item 15 is just informational. Item 16 is discussion of possible action, executive director of utilities position, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, the city has several ongoing and upcoming utility projects that are gonna require some hands-on monitoring. This position was in our budget until fiscal year '24. I think Paul absorbed a lot of those since he had started those projects. He wanted to see them finished through the end. With him no longer being here, I think it's in the best interest of the city to bring this back, to have someone in that position with all the projects we have coming up.
Okay. Anybody got any questions, comments?
Do we have somebody in mind?
No, this will be going out to bring in people. Will be going external and internal.
So, Mr. Ronnie, do you want to address this?
Mr. Mayor, you guys are quick to rush into decisions without doing research. I disagree with the whole concept, and I'm gonna tell you why. Why did Mr. Dow do that? Do you recall, Mr. Mayor, why these guys weren't reading and paying attention? That Paul Dow was once the assistant executive director. And then up under Heffenberger, he became the executive director. Notice what he didn't do. He didn't go out and hire an assistant. Why? Because once he became city manager, interim, he went and hired superintendents, right? So they can have hands-on experience and they can learn the job and whatnot. And it freed up the directors to be able to better govern. And then he brought their admins in and they were able to do the grant writing and things of that sort. What you're getting ready to do is cause a power struggle within the administration by bringing that job back. It was a reason that job left. It was a reason that it got fizzled out. It was a reason that it was not put back in the budget. Make the mistake as y'all typically do and not listen to Mr. Warren, and you would see what the outcome would be. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a black boy from the hood. I don't know what I'm talking about. But call Paul Dow. Maybe he'll tell you exactly why that position doesn't exist anymore. But if a very, very wise council would probably leave it out of the budget, because as soon as you put it in the budget and what's gonna come down the pipeline, you think you're looking bad right now. I mean, You ain't gonna be looking good after this, Mayor. But hey, look, what I know, I could be wrong as two left shoes, but it did not get out of the budget by accident. Thank you.
Okay. All right, do we need a motion on that, or is that just,
Yes, you need a motion on that, Mayor.
okay? Is there a motion?
So move, Mayor, on defining us, the executive director for utility.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, my motion and a second, any further discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor, can I just clarify the motion? So we're gonna authorize adding an executive director of utilities position and also approve the position description as presented. Is that okay, Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Hill, you were yes? Okay. Ms. Young?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, we have upcoming events next, Monday, we have council workshop on the Mariah Fund, January 29th, another workshop on decorum. That's comments of council.
Mayor, on the 29th, I'll be in Tallahassee.
Okay.
So will I.
Oh, that's right. Oh, all three of you will.
We'll just have to look at our calendars and try to get it rescheduled. I don't think we need to do it right this minute, but we will cancel it right now since everybody, I'd be the only one here. All right, we'll figure out a time to do it. Any other comments?
I have a couple of comments.
Sure.
The first one I want to address is, not so much like the shopping carts, but the trash cans. I'm getting a lot of complaints on trash cans being in the road and in the road for days where the, homeowners are not pulling their cans either back to the yard or at least away from the highway. And they're just rolling around in the roads. Quite a few, complaints on that. I don't know how we would need to address that.
Mayor, I can answer that.
Yes.
Ms. Young, what they can do is reach out to Waste Pro. If the trash cans are not being placed where they were put in, they have cameras on the back of the truck. They usually address those matters pretty quick.
Okay, we might wanna call them because they say they've called Waste Pro.
I will have to have the addresses and
Okay.
the places.
And the other, I would like to address, and I know Mr. Warren is not the requester, but regardless of that, it's no more than right that we address the issue concerning, requesting public records. Because it seems there is a problem. We're falling short and we need to come up with a solution. And I don't know if Ms. Sykes wants to address that, but we see that there is a problem. There's a time matter, and we need to, come up with a solution, or if there's a solution, we need to at least know, how the city is gonna go about it. But it is pretty embarrassing that when you request this information and pay for it, I don't care how you pay for it, but it's paid for. And, we don't fulfill our end of the bargain.
Mayor, may I respond?
Sure.
On this particular request, there's actually two requests. One of them is for 102 staff hours, and the process for the city is an estimate is provided to the requester, in which this is what happened here. And then a deposit's made. The city will not begin work until 50% minimum deposits received, and then that department will begin working on that. So the one request was 102 staff hours, and it's not my department, but, so they won't even begin to start on that until the deposit has been made. So the deposit has been made, in full, actually, the full estimated deposit has been made on both. So the deposit has been paid, the department has begun working, but we have not received a time estimate back from that department yet. We are meeting with them. We don't have a definite time, I think it's next week sometime. We we've all kind of talked about, Dee and I have already been talking about this, to see how we can do better, because like you say, we can't always do better. But I do want to just emphasize that this is a very large request, asking for records dated back to 2011 and to 2015, and it's over 102 staff hours on just the one request, so.
Okay, now, if we're going to, we can't put a limit on how much time is requested. Whatever's requested, we're gonna have to
Right.
make a way to get it done.
Oh, I agree, yes.
And especially when we're charging, for this to get done, is there a staff issue? Is there?
That's what
do you-
that is what we are going to be looking into next week to kind of see how we can get these done a little more timely. But 102 hours, that is a lot of time. But I've talked to Mr. Johnson, we have already spoke to the department knows that we will be meeting with them to kind of see what can we do to help that situation.
And are we, when a person pays this money and we know that there's a lot of time that's time put into, getting this done, do we let them know at that time? It's gonna take quite a bit of time to get this done.
That's what we're waiting to hear back from the requester. I do believe that the requester maybe was notified today. I think they did reach out to the department today directly and ask that question, and I think the department responded directly to the requester to kind of tell them kind of what it was gonna take. So, and then I think my staff in my office, I think also reached out to the requester to kind of say, hey, look, this is kind of what we're looking at. But I will verify that in the morning, but we are meeting with the department next week to see.
If this wasn't such an extensive, request, what time do we normally give them?
Each request is different, they're done and they're prioritized as they come in, and some requests don't take 30 minutes, and, those go out relatively easy, but it just took them a while to get that. To be able to get that estimate, it was a lot of records that they had to look through to kind of estimate about how much time that it was going to take them to get these chunks of information. And so that's where the time estimate came in from.
How often does it happen that we get a request this large?
This is a relatively large one. They don't come in too often this large, but we do get some that are pretty substantial. But this is a rather large one, so. It's one of the larger ones we've had in a while, but I'm not saying it's the only one. We've had definitely much larger ones than this one, but.
I would just like to see us come up with a solution and fulfill our responsibility.
And I'm happy to meet with each one of you one-on-one to talk about this further. I can give you a timeline of when it came in, all the details. I can definitely give you a report on that. I'm happy to do so. And any suggestions that you all may have. And like I said, Dee and I will be meeting with my full department and the department that these requests actually are going to next week.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? The motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
What time? We will close.